Hi, everyone. Welcome to Off the Record, where the stories behind the songs take center stage. Today, we sat down with Max McNown, who's releasing his latest project, Night Diving, The Cost of Growing Up. We really got into the emotional weight behind his lyrics, the life lessons that inspired the album, and how he's grown both personally and artistically through the process. So tune in, turn it up, and join us as we go off the record. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Lisa?
Absolutely great. Thanks for being here. We're glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to congratulate you first on everything that's been going on. Seems like a whirlwind, I would say. You've performed on the Kelly Clarkson Show, a lot of free certified gold,
Yep.
#1 on iTunes, sold out headlining tour. What do you make of all this?
I just try to take it one day at a time. It's a lot of people kind of look at it from the outside and just see the growth, and it's often assumed that it was kind of one big jump and it was like, whoa, I'm here, but it really is like thousands of small steps every single day,
Absolutely.
And so that's kind of the mentality that I've had is every day my goal is to kind of accomplish just something small, even if that's some days that's just getting a TV stand for my apartment,
That's a lot. That's a big step.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you say like, boom, I'm here. It's like overnight success, people will think.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't really happen often.
I like to paint a picture of a staircase. You're walking one, 6-inch step at a time, or, once you get to that 200th step, you look back and you're like, whoa, I'm so high up now.
You're like, how'd I get up here?
I never would have been able to jump up to this. I would be scared to climb to this if I was told I was going to go this high. But if you do it in increments, it doesn't feel all that crazy. And if you have a good team around you, keeping you grounded and keeping you the same person, then it really doesn't feel much different.
Yes, and it just kind of takes you up
there.
Yes,
Exactly.
Yes. So I want to talk about the album, Night Diving, The Cost of Growing Up. But I want to find out a little bit about you first.
Let's do it.
Who is Max McNown?
Max McNown is a singer-songwriter from Oregon. I saw a lot of the kind of this new age of country-centric music, the Tyler Childers, the Zach Bryan type music, where it's simple chords and just beautiful poetry, and that's kind of the two pieces put together that make them so large. And I saw that and I was so inspired by that. So I'm a kid from Oregon that was inspired by the ability for all these artists to put poetry over simple chords and make a difference, and that's what I'm trying to do.
That's exactly how I would describe your music.
Perfect.
Poetry over music. Yeah. But I do have some questions. I want to do some random questions with you.
I love it.
Just to find out some fun.
Don't get me canceled.
I won't get you in trouble. They'll be very easy and fun.
Cool.
So what's a random skill that you have that fans might not know about?
Ooh, might not know about.
I know they probably know everything about you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would say whistling, but a random skill.
Yeah, or talent.
I have a lack of talent that they might not know about. Does that count? Can I say that?
I'll take it.
I can't snap to save my life.
You can't snap?
Yeah. My brother jokes that God nerfed me because I can whistle well. I play harmonica, but...
You can't do it. I can't do it with my left hand.
Okay.
I can do it with my right hand.
Yeah. So I guess it's not really the question. I'm trying to think if there's...
No, I like that.
Not a lot of people know I'm pretty quick. I'm physically fast. I've always just been I was a track runner, and I was always a pinch runner for the older kids in baseball, and so I got some speed.
There you go.
Nobody really knows that.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. What's something you absolutely need on your tour rider, even if it's ridiculous?
An absurd amount of water. And it doesn't seem ridiculous until you learn that I go through so much water in a day. Yeah, it's almost like a tick for me now. Like I have to just drink water. I always try to keep my vocal folds super hydrated, because when you're playing so many shows, if whether you're drinking any alcohol or not, which it depends on the tour and the day for me, but alcohol and coffee dry you out. And so my brother Brock is the one that orders a lot of the stock for the bus.
Yes.
and you would think that there's elephants drinking the water that goes on there. So I'd say the rider is, 3 cases of water. And
Well, good thing we have water for you
Costco
here.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what I'd do. I mean, here I am. First thing I did when I walked into this room was grab water. Yeah, you saw it.
Yeah. What's your go-to comfort movie or show after a hard day of writing or performing?
I don't watch too many shows these days.
No time?
Not too much time.
Yep.
I can talk about just throughout my lifetime, the number one show that always became kind of my anxiety comfort show was The Office.
Okay.
So now I've watched it all the way through so many times that I know it so well and I quote it.
I was going to say you can recite lines.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
Yes.
basically watching now my life's just the Office because I just use the quotes so much. But The Office is a huge one.
That's
for
a
me.
great show.
Yeah.
That's a good one. What snack from childhood makes you nostalgic?
Goldfish.
That's a good one.
I got a stomach bug a few days ago, well, about a week ago at this point, and the only food that my mind was okay with eating was goldfish. So I got to go back to the old days there.
Did it make you feel better?
Not better, but I was able to keep it down. So that was
Comforting.
good.
Yes. Are you for or against Irish goodbyes at a party?
Ooh, my dad is the king of Irish goodbyes. So And honestly, I think that just in high school and fresh out of high school, I was a big Irish goodbye person.
Yeah.
It really depends on the situation though, because sometimes it's really disrespectful and you want to say goodbye. Like if it was a wedding reception or something, you want to say goodbye to some of the important people that are there that allowed you to be there and did a lot of the work.
Yeah.
But if it's just kind of hanging out at a friend's place, I usually just slip away. Like,
Just get out. You don't want to say goodbye.
Yeah.
What's a nickname you were called growing up?
Mooties.
Mooties?
Mooties.
Why?
It also can morph into mootsies or moots. Those are also okay to call me. My dad in sports always called me mooties. It would be
Is there a reason behind that?
mooties, huddle up. There is. So my older brother Brock, who is actually over there.
He's here.
When he was 2 years old, I was born. And he did not know how to pronounce an X. So he called me Mott's instead of Max. And Mott's morphed into Moots. And Moots morphed into Mootsies. And then the final evolution of the nickname is Mooties. And only my family that has known me since I was a baby, that were involved since I was that young, call me that. They're like, my aunt still calls me that. A couple of my childhood neighborhood friends that were in high school when I was super young still call me that. So yeah, that's kind of the iconic name of my lifetime.
That's great.
Yeah,
so you don't want people coming up to you calling you Mooties.
They can. I'll probably look at you like you're crazy.
Who are you?
Yeah, but now that I'm saying it here, I mean, who knows? I already have one fan that saw me say it on a live. And I was doing a live, and I told them, and now they strictly refer to me as Mooties in every comment they make. And I'm just trying to look the other way.
Like, okay.
I don't know this person.
Moving on. Yeah. So sleeping, socks on or off?
Oh my gosh. Off, absolutely off.
Right? I don't think there's another answer to that.
I think you need to seek help if you're sleeping with socks on. Is there somebody that sleeps with socks on?
I think there are people out there that do. I'm pretty sure.
I guess, my girlfriend has told me that sometimes she sleeps with socks on. So, or at least I think she has. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think it's like a cold thing.
I was going to say, I bet she starts with socks and then takes them off.
I could understand if it's really cold and your feet, and you're prone to your feet.
Yes.
Some people have like conditions that the blood flow to their end extremities isn't super efficient. So I think that's when people wear socks. So I don't want to knock them. Yeah, they get a pass.
They get a pass.
All right.
Yeah.
But if I'm sweating because it's so hot and I throw socks on to get in bed,
it's not gonna
ask
happen.
me if I'm okay, because there's something wrong.
Well, I feel like I know you better. I think I know who Max McNown is.
Yeah.
So I want to start at the beginning of your story. Tell your growing up story. You're one of 5 siblings.
One of 5, yep.
So talk about family.
Yeah. Family, I couldn't be more grateful for my family. I have an amazingly supportive and loving family. One of the most important things, I think, all growing up that my mom and dad both told me is whenever I was wondering what I was going to do with my life, when I was insecure or anxious that, so many of my friends are going into the medical field and they see their lives years down the line already. And I was like, I'm working at Starbucks. I'm going to try to be a manager. I don't even know. One of the things that they always told me was, I don't know what you're going to do, but whatever you choose to do, you will do it very well. And that was always the reinforcement that they gave me. And that just always calmed my mind. It was always, kind of surrendering it to, if once I figure out what I want to do, it'll be clear to me. And then it was.
I love that advice.
So that was always very encouraging. They were always amazing in that way. My dad was very entertaining. He was really good with words. He spoke in analogies often, and I think that's what I attribute my vocabulary to, is my dad primarily. And he also sang for us and played guitar.
Okay.
So never professionally, but I remember before my youngest sister was born, he used to sit in the hallway that connected the rooms that my brothers and I were all sharing, and he would just sit, cross his legs and sit out in the hallway, and he would play guitar and sing us, Zach Brown Band, Jack Johnson, Amos Lee, Ray LaMontagne. And I remember walking out and sneaking out, and some of my earliest memories are laying next to him and listening to him strum that guitar and play for us. And so music was instilled in me.
From the beginning.
Yeah, from the beginning. And it wasn't like you should do music because you should try to pursue being a professional someday. It was just music brings people together. Music is, there's a lot of love in music. And so my dad kind of almost conveyed that in music often, So it kind of was in the background. Yeah, it was always a thing. And it was always something that I really enjoyed. And doing something because you love it is always going to take you further than doing something because you have to, or because it's just a stepping block in the career you want to get.
Right.
You want to love what you do. How
do your parents feel about you getting into music and doing this? And obviously
super
seeing
proud.
The result is great.
Yeah, they're super proud. I like to tell the funny story of how my dad, whenever I'm home, my dad, he's allowed to pull a dad 5 times every time that I'm home.
That's it? Just 5?
Just 5 times. I allow him to do it 5 times. And pulling a dad is, we're eating at a random restaurant in Oregon, and the waitress comes up, and he goes, "Do you know that he's a country star?" And I have to sit there as my dad tells this waitress that I am a superstar, So they're very proud.
That's great.
They are just, I think that the thing that they're most proud of is how I'm handling it. I think that I have an amazing support foundation around me, from my brother to my girlfriend to my uncle who manages me, to my whole team just loving me and the person I actually am and wanting what's best for me, and not just seeing the money signs and not just seeing what we could end up getting to. They see me. Yeah. And that, I think, is so easily lost in the career. So my mom and my dad, to come back to the question, my mom and dad, I think, are just very happy that I've found the people that I have, because this life would be a lot different if I didn't have that kind of ship around me that I can try my best to steer straight.
Yes. That helps.
Yeah. I think that I think a lot of people get lost, and I think that they're just really happy that people are resonating and the music is changing lives, but most of all, I'm still the kid that they knew, that they raised.
Yes. And hopefully it stays that way.
I will,
as you go.
And
you're going to try your hardest.
I think my brother would slap me in the face.
Good.
He's on the road with me all the time. So if
need that.
we joke about it. It's called frontman syndrome. Yep. When you think that you're, all that, and everybody does everything for you, and you're just above everybody else. I think that
he'll keep you grounded.
Brock would keep me grounded. And what else keeps me grounded is comparison. Like just knowing that you should humble yourself and think you're still a human just like everyone else, and you're not as big as this person, and this person's not as big as this person. And so don't go acting, don't ever treat people poorly.
Yes.
Because you think you're bigger than them.
Yep. There's always someone better looking, smarter, or more talented.
And if you dwell on that, it's not healthy, but I think a little bit of that is healthy. I think a little bit of that
You
is
need
like,
it. Yep.
yeah, it brings you down. Like even just playing my headline shows, playing 20 headline shows in a row,
Yeah.
and then playing a festival where I'm a 2 p.m. slot. I'm like, oh, there are still levels to this.
Yep.
I have a long way to go.
Yep.
You know, and so yeah.
But you're working on it.
Humble.
You're working on it. Yeah.
I don't know how that question ended up veering into the stay humble, and now I'm like preaching to the crowd here.
I love when it takes a turn and veers off. But you did. We were talking about Brock, and I don't know if you. I know you've talked about it before, and if you're not comfortable talking about it, that's fine. But he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Lymphoma.
Lymphoma.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So how is he doing now?
Great. Yeah. He's in a year and 7 or 8 months remission now.
Great. And he's here, so I feel weird talking about him. He's
Hey,
right over here. Hi, Brock.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, he's doing great. I think that's part of the reason why, and I'm totally comfortable talking about it. Okay. And he's totally comfortable having me talk about it. We've had many conversations. But the reason I don't bring it up on my own quite as often is because he's healing. He's doing really good, and he remains a very powerful inspiration to me. And you talk about staying humble. I mean, I hate to do this again, Brock. I quote him on this all the time because he said one of the most profound things I've ever heard in my life. When he was in the worst of his experience going through cancer treatment, he was going through a stem cell transplant during COVID. And he just always says he remembered thinking, I don't want to survive this just so I can live again, even though I really want to live again. I want to survive this so that I can live with the perspective that being this close to death has given me. And so having that, I'm like, oh, here I am, like nervous about voice cracking on stage in front of a bunch of people that love me and want to see me perform. Like, who am I?
Yep.
You know, who am I to think that way? And so that's another way to just kind of that just saying that gives me chills and throws me back into the shape of it. Just shows you how grateful you should be. Yes. How grateful I should be for being here.
If you keep remembering that quote and just take it with you, I mean that's.
So Brock is here. Yeah. He is here for the long term, and he's a big help mentally and physically from getting stuff for me and road managing, and that's his job on the road. So
how does going through something like that as a family and as yourself inspire or change your music or your songwriting? Yeah,
so it changed the entire trajectory of my life, because something that I've just kind of recently come to terms with and started to talk more about is the push factor that got me to move to Southern California in the first place. A lot of people would think, you're 21, you moved to Southern California and you started doing music. That must have been the plan, but it wasn't at all. And I moved to Southern California because when a family is dealing with cancer, it doesn't just affect the person that's going through it, even though that is the primary receiver of the worst parts of it. Right. I'm not saying that it was anywhere close, but the family's often overlooked in that situation. And my mom and my brother were the kind of two that were really going through it together. My poor mom, giving everything. And it just made the house, it was difficult. Brock and I refer to it as the trenches, the cancer trenches. It's like you try to do something as simple as watch a movie together as a family, and there's an underlying sadness that you just can all feel.
You're always thinking
and
about
at that age, I was already just, kind of trying to figure out who I was and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. And naturally, when one of the family is going through something like that, a lot of the attention has to go to that. That's just how it is. Yep. And so I just figured, I'm 21, I got to go try to make a life for myself. And I battled with the guilt and the feeling of selfishness for that for a long time. And when I moved to California, I just needed to get out, because I remember I was working at Starbucks. And I was borrowing, which means I was working at a different store than I typically work at. And I was borrowing at a place where my mom gets her groceries, like nearby. And so my mom was getting groceries. I went on a lunch break, and she was around there, so she sat with me for lunch. And I remember sometimes stuff just boils up, and you don't even realize, your mind isn't telling you that you're not doing great until it boils over the pot. And so that was a moment there where my mom sat down with me, and that mother's intuition was like,
she could see
is something wrong? Like, what's wrong, Max? And I'm like, nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm kind of numb to it. I'm kind of just I don't know what's going on. I just feel not great. And then she just looks at me and she just goes, Max, are you okay? And I just started bawling my eyes out. And that was the moment that shifted everything. My mom was, she told me, try to make a change, try to go, pursue something. Is there something that you want to do? And I just said, I want to move to California. I want to switch up the scene. I want to go chase something. I don't know what I'm chasing. I'm just going to chase something.
So you didn't know you wanted to do music at that point when you went to California?
No. I had a dream in the back of my mind that never was going to come true.
Okay.
And in my mind, I was never going to take a step. I was never going to try. And it remained that way for a long time. And I ended up moving to California 3 months after that conversation. So it was like, here's the decision. We're going.
Do it.
We're not looking back. And I remember I packed up my Subaru Outback, and my dad came back out. And he might correct me on this, but I am 90% sure that this is a fact. The guitar he gave me may have been the one that he played for us in the hallway all that time ago.
Growing up.
And so he has a new Martin guitar now, and this old Epiphone is what he used to have, and it's kind of the backup now. And so he just handed me that guitar. And I didn't have a guitar. I wasn't planning on buying a guitar. And he was like, people love somebody who can strum. You should try to learn some chords. And at that point, all I knew was, the shape of a G chord. And so sure enough, I put it in there, drove to California, no intention of doing music, lived in California for several months, didn't do any music, anything. And then a friend of mine from Starbucks came to my place, and we were smoking a cigar and hanging out around the fire. And he told me, I was talking about, how I wrote a couple pieces of poetry in high school, and I put them over some strings that made certain noises. I didn't know how to play at all. And so I played those songs for him. I sang, and he was the one that really did that final push that made me take the first step. He was saying, he believed in me, and he's like, you could actually do this professionally. And I was struggling at that point. Obviously, that was fresh off of that move. I didn't know many people. Self-esteem was in the drain. I was kind of just navigating life and surviving at that point. And I was like, no way. I'm not even going to try. I don't want to disappoint myself. I don't want to let myself down if I try. And he said, if not for yourself, then do it for me. Because if you think about it this way, in the best case, nobody cares. And in the worst case, nobody cares. So go there and just show yourself that you can do it. That's step one. Perform in front of people, even if you don't know if they want to hear it or not. And that performance was kind of it changed everything. I played for about an hour and a half. I got a free taco. I got like $96, which is way more than what I was making at the time. And I got a girl's number and a $5 bill. And the joke is that those are the three necessities
That's
in
the
life,
winner,
right?
yeah.
And so from that point on, it felt like that was the first big sign that this is it. This is what I'm going to do. And it was like when my parents would always tell me, you're going to find something and you're going to do it well. I was like, this is what I want to do.
That's what it was.
And I just gave it my all. And I decided I was going to post on social media every day if I can, almost every day. I kind of I flipped a switch in my brain.
Yep.
And I was like, I don't care about the views. I don't care about the comments. I'm just going to post the best stuff that I can. And yeah, haven't really looked back since. That was
and then it was like, whew.
Yeah, so it kind of happened by chance.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I can continue, I don't want to go too far on a tangent.
Go ahead.
But I wasn't even planning on singing Zach Bryan, which ended up being what kind of put me onto the scene were my covers of Zach Bryan and my reaction videos on social media.
Yep.
So I was singing Tyler Childers, Follow You to Virgie, Lady May, Shake the Frost. Those were kind of my big songs that I really loved to play. And so I was playing Tyler Childers, and this woman named Jamie comes up to me, and she just stops and she goes, you sound a lot like Zach Bryan when you sing Tyler Childers. Have you ever tried to sing Zach Bryan? And I told her, Zach Bryan's too mainstream. He's blowing up now. It's hard for me to jump on a bandwagon. I've always been someone who likes my niche. I like finding the smaller artists that I really enjoy. And she was like, well, what if we compromise and I send you his SoundCloud songs that are unreleased? I was like, all right, I could get behind that.
Who was this woman?
yeah, Jamie. And so I sent her a video of me learning one of his unreleased songs at the time, Get Out Alive. And she posted that to a Zach Bryan fan page. And Zach Bryan's dad found it, commented on it, and said, well done, sir. That's all he said, well done, sir. And I remember just seeing that changed my whole perspective. And then followers from that Facebook group started coming over. I earned about 50 or so followers on Instagram that increased. The first time anybody had ever followed me for my voice or my music or anything, not my music, but my voice.
Right.
People liked it enough that they were like, I want to follow this kid's journey. And that was the first time. And so Jamie kind of instigated that. And then when this tangent's going crazy, but
go with it.
And then on my American Idol audition, I sang Zach Bryan's song Jamie as my audition. That got me through. I sang it again for the golden ticket, got the golden ticket, ended up turning down American Idol, but that was a huge part of my career to do that and prove to myself that I could do that, right? And then now my producer that I stumbled upon that is kind of my main producer now is Jamie. So if there are any Jamies out there that want to,
that's great,
that want to work together, I think you guys have some important things to do in my life.
It was fate, you know. It happened for a reason, the way it happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
But a couple of things coming from that. Before you went busking, did you know that you could sing? I mean, had you sung with your dad and stuff like that?
So, yeah, I guess I haven't covered that yet. My whole family, just everyone except for my mom really loves to sing. My mom sang us to sleep all the time.
Yeah.
But she doesn't love it. My dad loves to sing. All my siblings love to sing. It was kind of that household where we'd all be playing video games or something in our rooms, and one of us would belt out a chorus of a John Denver song or something, and the other one would finish it. You know, it was constantly normalized and accepted, and I just took an extra liking to it that I guess the rest of my family didn't really. My sister and I were the only ones that ever kind of thought maybe we could try to do music.
Want to do something with it. Would we see a collab or a duet with Brock or your sister or something like that?
See, here's the thing. They all have amazing voices.
Yeah.
It's funny because they all have amazing voices, but they'll never admit that to you.
They won't.
They'll never sing for you. They'll never admit that to you.
We can't get Brock over here to sing a couple bars?
No, I brought him up the first time I did the Opry. I brought him up. And he has horrible stage fright. Oh. And so I brought him up because he's obviously a huge inspiration. And at the time, it was very fresh into his remission. And he came up and he just froze. He just didn't say a word. And so I learned my lesson then, and I just haven't. All
right, we won't embarrass you, Brock. You're safe.
He works in the shadows.
You're safe back there.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned you tried out for American Idol and did that, but you turned it down. Was there a reason why? I mean, you got through. You got what everybody that goes on that show wants.
Yes.
But you were like, no. What's the reason behind that?
Yeah, so it was an amazing experience. Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, and Lionel Richie all signed my guitar that I was using, my little Luna guitar. And I ended up turning it down and moving away partially because of contractually it didn't really make sense. There were certain agreements that I would have had to make to continue that I didn't feel ready to make at that point. And also A Lot More Free had just come out. And we already knew it was different than the other songs.
Yes.
I mean, right out of the gate, it had so many videos made on social media. Hey, Katie. It had so many videos made on social media, and it had so many streams in comparison to the other songs that were out that we knew there was something kind of brewing with it. And so we decided to kind of go all in on ourselves. I didn't really want to be the game show winner, you know?
Yep.
I feel like there's a bit of a stigma.
There's a stigma to that,
There's a stigma these days, especially,
that
comes with it. And I think part of the reason for that is because everything is, you have to be authentic. There's exceptions to every rule, but the general rule these days with the age that we're living in, if you're faking who you are, then you're not going to end up being able to hold that for a long time.
True.
And so I think when you try to make a star out of somebody by kind of using pop culture and that kind of style, it ends up kind of backfiring a little bit. And so I didn't want to be made into something that I wasn't. And after watching some of the how the show progressed, I mean, some of the performances and outfits were very like, look at me and show
flashy.
me. And flashy. And I'm like, I wear a black t-shirt and jeans with every single show. I would have never been able to do that. And it probably would have changed my trajectory even more than I think.
Yeah.
So that's why I decided to back out.
That makes sense. And people can see through it if you're not authentic.
Exactly.
You can fake it for a little bit, I think, but then eventually
Everybody's
people
got a
can tell.
phone. I mean, if you're faking
Yes,
faking like you're some personality and then someone records you at a deli, like saying,
Yes.
being a jerk to the person at the counter, that's
Yes.
going to go viral. And then you're no longer going to have that aura around you. It's going to be gone.
Yeah, this is not the time to not be authentic.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that right now. So that obviously you had the A Lot More Free EP, and then that led to your first debut album, Wandering.
Correct.
Then another EP in the middle, Willfully Blind.
Yep.
And now, the next Night Diving,
yeah,
part
yeah.
one.
Part one.
And now Night Diving,
The Cost of Growing Up. Yep.
So explain that Night Diving split too. You had the part one, part two, but this album is coming out as a whole album, but it's both albums together.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
22 songs, 23 songs?
21 as of
21?
now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So explain why you wanted to do that and the thought behind that.
So it's largely, there's two reasons. One, releasing music kind of in the tortoise wins the race fashion, where you release one song every 3 or 4 weeks and you keep singling stuff, that kind of pleases and stokes the algorithms that you have to cater to in this
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, truly. and as much as and I've had so many conversations where I ask my management, and I'm like, can we just put out an album and maybe single one song before it? But the results do not lie. I mean, you just get on the radios of those DSPs, and it ends up being beneficial, and it kind of keeps you in the scene and keeps your buzz going. So that was part of it. We wanted to kind of release it in increments. And then we got to the point where we were ready to put out a full project, which is typically 10 to 12 songs traditionally.
Right.
Again, exceptions to every rule. But we had a lot of these songs. A lot of the second part of Night Diving was written before some of the first part of Night Diving. So it's always been one full album to me.
Yes.
It was kind of released out of necessity. It was like, hey, we're still working on this portion. It helps the algorithm anyway to have releases be consistent. And so we saw it as a benefit to say, hey, here's an album. This is what people will be pointed back to whenever they hear a single, right? It's all going to come back to a full body of work, which we wanted to have that for this new album. And then we just figured we'll finish the rest of them, and then we'll put that out, and it'll be kind of a side A, side B situation, even though I don't favor any side or anything. It's more just, I think of albums as phases of life, and all of these songs were written in the same phase of life. And so they're meant to be together.
Yes.
And I'm now starting to write that next thing.
You're in the process of the next.
Yeah,
okay.
I just started.
I can't wait to hear that one and see where you are. See where you
we'll
are
stick
now.
with this one first.
Yeah. So I just lost my train of thought, but
No, you're good.
I do want to talk about each part separately at first, because the way I listened to it was I listened to one.
Yeah.
And I was like, who hurt you? Number one, because that seems to be like breakups and hurt and betrayal kind of. And then listening to part two was a lot lighter, a little more healing, joyful kind of, it seemed. Was that on purpose? Am I right?
You are absolutely right.
Okay.
I think that happened a little bit by chance.
Okay.
I wish I could claim credit for being that deep. But I wrote that first half. A lot of the first half songs were written either right after I met my girlfriend or before. And it was after, so they were kind of written in hindsight about a lot of the things I'd been through.
Okay.
And so that's why it probably felt there was more turmoil. I think a lot of those writes, especially Night Diving, were kind of, they were therapy sessions for me. It was kind of diving into myself and finding the things in the darkest parts of me that are, things that need to be learned, but maybe are harder to figure out about yourself, if that makes any sense. I'm trying to wrap my head. I'm talking, thinking out loud. But the second half, almost every single song has been written after a long and steady and lovely relationship, and I just love her to death. And it is, a lot of the songs represent that.
You can tell.
Hear that.
You can tell.
Yeah, you'll hear that. I mean, Better Me For You was after we first met. I remember I played that song for her after we had been officially dating for a few months. And she cried in the car. We were outside of a Buca de Beppo in Nashville. And so that was Better Me For You. That was kind of that first song. And even Better Me For You has underlying negative tones of who I was beforehand. You know, the verses are not all sunshine and rainbows,
they're not.
you know? So that really does kind of speak to what you were saying with that first half being more of that gritty, darker side. And then this second half, I mean, Wherever I'm Going, This Side of Heaven, Where to Start, Forever Ain't Long Enough. I mean, all these songs are legitimately just, they're directly inspired by our relationship. And I'm in a really good place mentally. And speaking to the authentic, you know, mentality, it's really hard for me to write a breakup song when I'm in the happiest relationship I've ever been in, you know? It's like, I want to write songs that are true to my own experiences. And that doesn't mean I never write sad songs or I'll never write another deep song. It's just, I'm not going to write about how much I hate an ex if I'm just like in a really great place.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So that's why you get that tone in that second half, is because all those have been, you know, most of those have been written
when you met this person.
Yeah, after a long and steady relationship.
So was the first part a different relationship than what you are now, or is it the journey of
it's
the
the
whole
journey
same
of the
relationship?
relationship. Yeah. And a lot of the earlier songs were very fresh into the relationship. And so I was still kind of looking in hindsight and thinking about all the things that I'd been through, all the, you know, that's where I was drawing inspiration from.
Yeah.
And now she's the main thing I draw inspiration from.
She's it. So talk about your songwriting process. You write these deep emotional songs. So are you a lyrics person first, a melody? What do you go through to get to a song?
I would say 98% of my music is lyrics first.
Lyrics first.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because you'd mentioned you write poetry, so you're writing a poem basically, and then you put it to music.
Exactly. And sometimes the poem has a melody to it. Normally, I want to have some sort of chord progression, but what the song starts with before anything is the concept, or maybe the piece of poetry that inspires it. So my notes page is just, you know, full of different concepts that I just think about just randomly. I mean, I was just in a discussion earlier about my song "Call Me If You Miss Me," and it was initially written. The chorus was initially written almost to completion on a random drive that I took from Oregon to Yellowstone, Montana. And so inspiration strikes randomly, and I just try to capture it and put it in my notes, and then I save it, and I usually just bring it into a room and I co-write. That's the primary thing I do.
But it's basically what you're going through in life.
I never I'd say maybe one or two of my songs have not been written from, you know, a direct experience that I had.
Okay.
Or a concept from my notes page, because that's important to me. Well, the only thing that separates me, I'll never be, kind of to full circle with what we talked about in the beginning, I'll never be the best guitar player. I'll never be the best technical vocalist out there. I will never be, you know, the best performer. But what I will always be is the only me, you know? And so to play into that as much as possible, if you're trying to write songs if you're trying to write hits, or whatever the term is that you use, if you're trying to write hits, you often think that you shouldn't write about what's intimate to you, but that's the only thing that makes it special.
Right.
You know?
That's what makes it authentic. Back to authentic. That's
exactly.
the key word here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Authentic is definitely a chief. Being authentic is a chief virtue for me.
So if we listen to the album, what do we learn about you? It's a good one, huh?
Yeah, that is a good one. I feel like there's a lot of optimism, but optimism in the darker moments. So and that's kind of true to my personality. My girlfriend will tell you this. It's no matter what I'm going through, it's typically, I'm always the person to kind of try to find the silver lining. And I think especially as a full album with The Cost of Growing Up and all those songs, like even The Cost of Growing Up, it's, you know, the pre-chorus is 7 months a man I hated, cheated on, broken, betrayed and all those anxious nights spent wasted, beating on the face I'm blaming. That's all written directly from my life. That's just something that I experienced. And but the whole theme of the song is that that's part of life, and life is often 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So it's taking the cost with the understanding that that is just part of growing up. And that's what the whole album is meant to represent. It's meant to represent that there are going to be waves of difficulty and trials that are going to be placed in your life, and how you handle them is the most important thing of all.
I love that. So taking that, is that why you took that? Because of that song basically encompasses everything? You took that and made that part of the title of the second half?
Yeah.
As opposed to just
so
night
diving? Yeah, night diving was initially, I've been night diving before.
Yeah.
One of the most surreal experiences of my entire life. Highly recommend it to anybody. Really scary.
Scary? I was going to say scary.
Pitch black. Like
Yeah.
a blackness that your eyes have never fully seen. I mean, unless you're in a super covered forest in the middle of the night, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't think of a place where less light reaches
Darker.
in the bottom of the ocean. And it's just you and a flashlight. And I had 2 people that agreed to do it with me for that trip that we were on, and we were scuba diving. And I saw things in that experience that you would never be able to see in the day. Nocturnal things.
Because they come out at night,
yes,
right.
Yeah. And so I initially named Night Diving the album. I named it after the most important song to me, Night Diving. And then I realized that night diving is also absolutely a metaphor for digging into the parts of yourself that aren't very pretty, and digging into the things that are really difficult to confront, and learning the most about yourself when you do that. I mean, the daytime dives are great. Swimming in the ocean's awesome. You see some, every once in a while you'll see really cool creatures.
Yeah.
When you went night diving, everywhere you looked was something bright and shiny and massive. And it was like, that was the most... That was the takeaway for me, was
That's
to
so
see
real.
all that. And now that that's why I named the first half Night Diving.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's what the first half is. It's that more introspective, that darker, you have to, every write was like a therapy session, know? And then the cost of growing up is the optimism in that. So night diving is addressing those things, and the cost of growing up is realizing that A, you're not alone. And B, all of the things that you're going through are a part of life, even if they're, whatever you're going through is a part of growing up and living life. And it's not always going to be perfect, but it's always worth pushing forward and living, So yeah, optimism.
Yeah. There it is again.
Optimism is the main takeaway from my album.
And so those things kind of have to happen in order to be able to feel the love and the optimism in that way.
That's
where
it. You can't
from.
love without the loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
That line. There was a line in there.
That's the cost of growing up.
Yes.
Yep.
I love that line, and that's what I was kind of thinking when I looked at the name of night diving. I was thinking of diving into all your darkness and figuring it out, but I didn't know the story about the
I did.
scuba
Yeah.
diving. That's insane.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about all the topics that you talk about on there. There's loss, there's love, there's betrayal, there's heartbreak, there's mental health awareness. How does it feel to know that your music, because I was looking online and saw a lot of comments from people, that your music, when you write about these things, that it is authentic to you, relates so much to these people and helps people along the way. Did you know that would happen going into it, or was it you're just spilling your feelings and hoping for the best?
I don't think there's any way I knew. I couldn't have known, but that has always been the goal for me. I always say, you could look back on most interviews in my life, and when people ask me, why do you make music, it's to make people feel less alone. That's always been my goal since the first song that I released, Freezing in November. They're not always going to resolve in some super redemptive way, but sometimes life is like that. Sometimes the song doesn't end happy. Sometimes you're just in a phase of life that is really, really difficult. And so the songs are just meant to show you that you're not alone.
Yeah. And going through, I do have some of the comments here. I wanted to read you.
Yeah. I have cried with fans. I have heard stories that are so far from what I've written songs about.
I'm sure.
And it's just amazing because it's the power of music. My dad told me, when you release a song, you are giving it to the fans, to the community that listens to your music. It is a gift, and it's no longer yours.
Right. And they relate it to their life.
Yes, and it's real to them. Whatever. If you're, the strongest writers that I've written with are really good at writing. Have taught me to really write for the specifics, so that it seems like you would only relate to it, but there's somebody out there that is going to think this song was written about me.
Yes.
And whatever their experience is, that is true.
Yes.
You know?
And I think you do that really well. I would have to say, and I'm not just sucking up here, but every song on the album is relatable to somebody in some way.
Thank you.
Because it's not, I know you wrote them and they're about your issues, but I feel like everybody goes through those things.
Yeah.
And you've touched on a little bit for everybody. And
thank you. That's the goal.
And just reading some of these comments, I mean, people that have just heard you, you're beyond amazing always, the sweet voice and smile. You brought back into my life the desire to listen and sing love songs. You're the best artist around. Your voice is truly extraordinary. Your positive aura, the atmosphere you create, and the depth your lyrics touch people deeply. How does this stuff, when you read this stuff, how does this make you feel?
Loved. Encouraged.
Here's another one.
Yeah.
You're the Elvis Presley of our generation. May God continue to bless you, my dear friend.
You know, some of them will give me a big head if I spend too much time. That's something I learned really early, because I actually don't read. I didn't read any of those comments. I didn't read any of those that you just read. And not to say I never read my comments, because I do.
Yeah.
But something I learned early on was initially, when my reaction videos were first exploding, I tried to respond to almost every single person. And when I started to get videos that would get millions of views and, you know, tens of thousands of comments, I actually found myself, even with all the positivity, I found it unhealthy. It was like dwelling on this. It's, you know, too much of a good thing is a bad thing, you know?
Yes.
And that's kind of how it is. And it goes both ways. Because then I've also had my experience with like internet trolls that end up, you know, calling you out publicly and then have a bunch of their minions kind of go on and harass you. Like, I've had both sides, and where if you read all the comments, whether good or bad, it can end up being unhealthy. So I usually, I'll post a video and then I will, you know, answer to some of the early comments and maybe read some of the early stuff, maybe like the first 15 to the first 30. And then I will go hands off and let the video do what it's going to do. And I never look at the comments again. And so, I mean, where I get that same fulfillment is at shows. When I meet fans and they tell me that stuff, but they tell me it as they're, you know, fighting through tears.
With their stories,
like real.
Yes.
You know, because you also, the really sad part of a lot of that stuff is sometimes people will use comments like those as leverage to try to, you know, get tickets.
Try to talk to you.
It ends up being, I mean, I have certain people in my DMs that have sent me hundreds and deleted each of them saying something crazy, like something super tragic or something like, I'm, you know, going to do this and this. I just really wish you would respond. Like, so the internet's just kind of a scary place.
Yes,
I just try to keep my most meaningful interactions face to face,
which is smart. Yeah. The connection's better anyway. You can really see the authenticity again in a person. Yeah. So being so vulnerable and releasing these songs, was it scary for you to do that, to put that out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially night diving. I actually, and I still don't fully go into depth. No pun intended, actually. Some of my songs are written about such personal things to me that I just let people interpret them how they will. Yeah. You know, A Lot More Free is kind of one of those. A Lot More Free and night diving. And even The Cost of Growing Up, I go into a little bit greater detail on some stuff that I've been through with that pre-chorus that I quoted earlier. But they've most of those songs have been difficult to release. I've never questioned releasing them, but when I put them out, especially when you're hearing the oversaturation of every other artist, I mean, social media just shows you, once you get into music, all you see is other artists. Yes. And so when I'm putting out a song that's like gut-wrenching and really personal to me, and then I see some super kind of surface level song that's going huge, I'm like, people are going to think this is stupid. People aren't going to like this. This is going to stream horribly. And I wish I didn't think that way. But I go through phases of looking at a bunch of other people and thinking, this song is too personal to me. And then I also go through phases where I think this song is so personal to me that I'm going to be proud of what it does no matter what. And so it's kind of it's always this, you know, like
overthinking, not thinking,
constantly. That's the entire life. I mean, catastrophizing. Is this the biggest I'll ever be? Am I going to go down? You know,
that's all of us.
Do people hate me? Or do I just need to go to sleep?
Yes. You'll find out when it happens. Don't even worry about it.
Absolutely.
99% of the things we worry about, we can't control. So
Yes.
you just got to
Yeah.
go with it. But on Night Diving, you did the song by yourself first, and then on part 2, you have Cameron Whitcomb on there. So talk about that and meeting or bringing him on and why you wanted to bring him on.
Cameron is one of one. He is the only Cameron Whitcomb in the entire world. And we talk about authenticity, and we talk about uniqueness, and what makes artists special is who they are. Cam is the epitome of that. I mean, he is himself, unapologetically. And a lot of people would think we're very opposite, but when we're hanging out, it's like he's got a really good heart, and that's the main thing that I look for when I'm,
That's important.
people that I spend time with. I want them to have a caring and a loving heart, and Cameron has that. He's the first friend that I really made that was a fellow artist. I reached out to him. He was doing a TikTok live one day, and I just joined it, and he was immediately so nice to me. Wow. And I just sent a couple comments, and we kind of had an interaction, and then we exchanged numbers. And ever since then, he's just been someone that I've kind of communicated with, and someone I can relate to. I think a lot of people don't realize that life on the road can be very taxing, and it's not a party vacation time all the time. Like you're working, and not a lot of people can help you if they don't relate. And so Cam has been one of my friends that I've kind of talked to. I had to cancel shows from being sick one time, which was devastating to me. It was my first time I'd ever had to do that. And I had to cancel or postpone 3 shows. And then Cam had to postpone, I think, about a week of shows or 2 weeks of shows, something crazy, because he jacked up his vocal cords. And I remember we both just talked together about that. Like, man, that sucks, but it's okay. We're human. Right. It was a shoulder to lean on. You could
help each other through it.
Yeah. So Cam has always, since the very beginning, been in my world, right? Not to mention, I love his music. I love his authenticity, and I love that he sings about some of the darkest parts of himself. He sings about his drug addiction or his former drug addiction. He's clean now, but he is very open about his battle with addiction. And Night Diving is a song about addiction. Yep. And so when we had the complete Night Diving and we decided we were going to potentially look for a feature on this next part of the album, he was the first person I reached out to.
Automatically.
I just sent him Night Diving, and I was like, hey, then this was before the first Night Diving released. I was like, hey, we're going to release a second part of this album. We already had that, planned down the line. And I was like, I feel like this song is meant for you. If you would be down, I'd love to have you on it. And he was like, heck yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So that's as simple as it was. He recorded, and I love how it came out. He has a greater range than I do. And so he was able to belt my falsetto part in the second. So it gave it a whole new energy.
It did. It feels
really
different.
Yeah,
it's the same exact song, obviously, but it just feels a little different with him on it.
Yeah, he's singing from his world.
And his experience and his relatability. Yeah.
Exactly.
So Forever Ain't Long Enough. Can you give me a little story behind that song?
Yeah, it's partially... It's basically just about how much I want to marry my girlfriend.
There's that girlfriend again.
Yeah. That's literally, it's about looking into the future. There's a video trend that's going around that just rips my heart out every time I see it in a good way. But it's a couple that's, in their 80s or even 90s. And it's the whole, or someone that just lost their spouse, at that age. And it's like, but there was a time, and it goes back to when they were 75, and then when they were 60, and then when they were 45, and then when it just goes back in time to when they were 2 kids. Yeah. And I just look at my girlfriend these days, and I just see stuff like that, and I'm like, man, let's get going. Let's chase the horizons and try to start now, because by the end, when it's all said and done, it's not going to feel like it was long enough. And so that's what that song is about. Just forever. It's kind of a joke because forever is eternity, right? But even that is not long enough. It'll never be long enough. So make the most of every single day and love the person you love to the fullest. And that's what that song is about.
She must have loved that. Did she cry when she heard it?
Yeah, I keep making her cry. I got.
But you can see yourself with her at 70, at 75,
yeah.
at 80. And that's the sign of a solid relationship.
Yes, definitely.
So that's awesome. So you are heading out on the road.
Yes.
For your first headlining tour.
Well, second headlining.
Yeah. Sold out. A lot of dates have been sold out.
Yeah, most of them. There are a couple that still we're working on. But
what's the Max McNown show look like?
A lot of energy.
Yeah.
You
running around stage.
Yes. Yeah. You hear my albums, and you might think I'm kind of that tortured artist that kind of just sits there, and looks down, and just sings my introspective songs.
Yep.
I'm having a party.
That's great.
And there's moments obviously, my goal when I perform is to embody the emotion of the song when it was written.
Yeah.
So even if I don't fully relate to songs as much, like if I wrote a song about, A Lot More Free was about an ex, right? And I don't fully relate to that anymore because I've reached that freedom. It was kind of writing A Lot More Free was my claim to freedom in a way. And so I've moved on. I'm healthy. I wish nothing but the best for the person the song's about, and I wish, and I'm in such a healthy place in my relationship now. But when I'm on stage, it looks like, you'd think I just got broken up with yesterday. So my goal is to embody the emotion because I know that there's someone in the crowd that needs that. Someone in the crowd that feels that in that moment. Even though I don't feel that pain anymore, there's someone that does, and they need to feel like they're a part of it, and they need to feel less alone. And so I try to embody that. So the happy songs are I'm having a blast. Marley, Forever Ain't Long Enough is going to be so fun to play. Love Me Back, super fun. A lot of the songs, there's a lot of energy. But the what we always say, we always have a band prayer before we go on stage, and what I always pray for is just that we have a really, God allows us to have a great time on stage, and that is reciprocated by the crowd. And I want the crowd to hear what they need to hear tonight, and I want them to feel like they can let go of that for a night. So a lot of the time I'll give a little speech before I sing A Lot More Free at my headline shows because I say, this is arguably the reason why I'm here in front of you. And I know there's a lot of people that are thinking about all the things going on outside their life, whatever it is. A Lot More Free has hit really hard with the divorce crowd. There's a lot of people that have fallen out of love and gone through really difficult, unhealthy relationships. And so I always kind of give them a moment before A Lot More Free, and I just say, just belt it out with me right now and just forget that all of that is out there because we're here right now. And there's so many people in this room that relate to you, even though you couldn't be more different, most likely. But they all relate because they all are connected through music. And so that's what that's kind of the epitome of what I want my shows to feel like.
Yeah. Well, we're more alike than we are different.
Yeah, so. Absolutely. And I think there's so much talk of how different everybody is. And I feel like, what is it? One of my favorite movies is Hacksaw Ridge. And Desmond Doss, one of his lines in it, one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard in my entire life. But he says, with the whole world so set on tearing itself apart, it doesn't seem so wrong to me to want to put a little bit of it back together. That's music.
We're going to end it right there. Thank you so much, Max. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you.